All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we have back on the show, Joe Reitzug from Portland, Oregon. And we are going to revisit popular show, everybody, by the way, talk about somebody who knows systems. So we're going to revisit today a little bit about that on listings. But first, Joe, thanks for coming back on the show. Good to see you.
Happy to be here, Jere. Always a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, I got quite a few phone calls about our last session, and everyone was pretty fired up about that. So I'm glad we get to do it again.
Awesome. So talk about somebody who knows how to streamline. That's what we talked about last time, and we're going to go back into that a little bit today. Listings. But where do we begin? Let's review everybody a little bit, just real quick, to give them some context. Tell us about your team. Tell us about how you run it. How you guys, give us a quick, like, 60, 30-second synopsis of who you are. Sure. And then we're going to jump into the listing processes.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I've been in the business 26 plus years now, and have about half that time selling broker, and half that time I was in management. And went back into selling about 6 years ago. My wife got licensed and joined me, and we've just brought on a new team member, Michaela Trelaw. She's doing fantastic. So it's the three of us licensed, and then we have Rika Ramos in Baguio City, Philippines. She is our virtual assistant, and she is absolutely essential. Can't believe how much she does for us. And then we also have some third-party companies that we hire to do lead generation. So they manage these people for us, and we have dedicated people that do just listed, just sold. We have one that we're going to be bringing on to do expireds.
Wow. Now these are inside sales calls, just generating leads.
ISAs, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you've got ISAs, everybody, inside sales assistants, associates.
Sure.
And so in the team, you've got 3 agents, and is your wife one of those 3, or?
She is.
Okay. Yep. So 3 agents. You've got your strong admin support, your assistant in the Philippines. What is her name again?
Rika.
And then you've got inside sales associates, and you've got a massive system behind the scenes that you're operating through.
Yeah. And nothing that I'm going to talk about here is anything that I've done, like magically thought of or anything. This is all stolen from other people in the industry. And that's why I feel so comfortable sharing it, because I stole it from someone else who probably stole it from someone else. So, you know, it's one of those things, Jere, where if someone else is doing really well and they're willing to share it, I'm willing to take it. Why not?
Why reinvent the wheel?
Why reinvent the wheel? And where we're at right now as an industry is so incredible, because I remember starting out, we had the books. Remember having to go through the books before?
I'm embarrassed to admit I do. I remember, like, when I got in, we were transitioning out of that. So I'm like, maybe I'm not as old as you are. Just kidding. Or maybe I'm older.
I'm much older than you.
I don't know. But I'm 27, so you probably are.
Well, I was going to say, I wouldn't doubt you're still in your 20s. So
I've been 27 for a while.
But we had those books. And I remember sitting in a sales meeting where everyone was debating whether we were going to go to the online system or stick with the books. And I was like, what are we talking about? Right? So we live in a day and age now where if you're not automating, if you don't have systems in place, you're behind, and you're probably not doing the business efficiently or in an efficient way where you can have a strong life work balance. And that was one of the things that drew me to this industry. It was both the opportunity, but also the chance to have some balance. I came from a background in college football coaching where, you know, we were working crazy hours all the time, traveling and never seeing our families. And that really wasn't where I wanted to be. And this job affords you that. But I still see a lot of agents working 80, 90 hours. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? Why are you? I don't understand that.
Well, and to sum that up, so everybody listen to the last episode that we had with Joe Reitzug. It's joereitzug.jeremetcalfpodcast.com. We'll take you straight to it. It's the blog post, show notes, and any place you can find the social media, you can find the interview. But to the point, you said the message was a lot of people think automate to get out of the work. Automate to communicate.
Yeah. Automate to communicate and automate to create opportunities and build relationships.
So talking about, we were so focused on just how you run your business. We didn't really get a chance, and we haven't done this in a long time. And I thought, what a great person to talk to about how you do that with, generating, listings, but we're talking like from generating the lead to winning that business, to delivering that business, to closing that business and growing your business from that business you closed. How do you do that?
That's a big question.
Do we have hours, right?
We got hours, we got days. And I love talking to you. So we're gonna just dissect this and get down to it. So, the lead opportunities are like gold right now, especially seller leads. I don't know about everyone else's marketplace, but right now we are under a month of inventory for our entire market.
We're 30 days.
You are, yeah.
So everybody listening, not live, right now we are in the middle April of 2021, where COVID, we came out of quarantine almost a year ago. Vaccines are coming out, but we've still got the market going crazy with houses selling.
Yeah.
So, to that.
If you control the listing inventory, you control the market. And that's always been true for the most part. But now so more than ever. So we made a shift a year ago to be more seller centric. And we've always been probably about 60-40, 65-35 listings to buyers. Now we're more 80-20. But we have a ton of great people that we're working with who are looking to buy homes. But controlling that listing inventory is really where it's at. And so our main lead generation tool for that is getting on the phone and calling people. We do a lot of just listed, just sold circle prospecting, where we let people know what's hitting the market. And that gets the conversation going, and people are open to having those conversations because they want to know what the real estate market's doing in their neighborhoods for the most part. So we get a lot of those opportunities, and our ISAs are doing that.
Inside sales assistants.
Inside sales assistants are doing that 8 hours a day, every day for us. So, excuse me, when we get an email come in, that email is set up through Gmail so that when I receive it, it automatically gets sent to the rest of my team, including Rika, who then will put it into Chime, which is our CRM system. Okay. She will then automatically set up a LetterStream account. Letterstream.com is a great way to send really nice formal letters and can be done automatically. And then Handwritten is a card company that you go online and it'll download with your database.
What card company do you use?
Handwritten, which is HANDWRYTTEN.
So side question, getting into the weeds a little bit, but it's probably relevant to a lot of people who are thinking about applying this. On the Handwritten or whatever service you use, what about the postage stamp? Is the postage stamp,
They put a stamp on it for you.
Right, but there's the stamp, but what about like, it says like this came from Atlanta, or there are companies that send these from LA. So now they're getting it. They're like, oh, interesting, Sacramento, California, but it's Jere in Atlanta.
No,
or
it comes
Joe
from
in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
What's that?
My return address. It comes from my return address.
Right.
Right.
So there's even a stamp on there, not the, what do they call that? Where the post office stamps?
Post stamp, yeah.
Is the post stamp?
Yeah.
Portland?
Yeah, I sent one to myself when I was testing out the product. It looks great. And it's handwritten. I mean, they have machines that do the writing. So it is actually
not like stamped. It's like,
no, it's not a laser print or anything like that. So it's a handwritten card. And
handwritten's gonna have to start sending you some endorsements now. Anyway,
I'm going to send them this podcast and hopefully we can strike up some deals here. But yeah, I highly recommend it. There's nothing better than getting a handwritten card from someone. Someone took the time and effort, in this case, to go online and type what I wanted to.
All right, but you're going to open it and look at it.
Right.
So you guys, so on the lead end, when people are emailing you, when they come in as a lead that way, are they emailing you because they're coming through what form of marketing?
Most of the time it's from our ISAs, and I'm getting an email from our ISA company that says, Anna spoke with Mr. Schultz, and he indicated that he's thinking of selling his home this summer. He'd like some additional information on the current value of his home, and he'd like you to reach out next week at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. That's a great lead.
That is in the calendar. You probably do.
So we use Calendly. Calendly is a great product that, so the ISA will go on to Calendly while they're talking to this person, see where I have openings for a 15-minute phone conversation, plug it in, I get the notification, and then you can set up Calendly so that the person that you're meeting with will get a text and a email reminding them, hey, Joe's looking forward to talking to you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Let us know if you have any questions before then. Here's a link to some of the information that Joe is going to share with you. You can see if they open that link or not, which is great. The day of the appointment, they'll text and say, hey, remember Joe's going to be calling you at 5 o'clock, which is about an hour. We look forward to talking to you. So, I mean, it's really hard for them to forget about the meeting. They have to actually ignore the meeting. But what they don't know is that we follow up.
Which is key. And even if they're busy when they are ready, they're not going to forget the level of follow-up, which is the name of the game. So then at the end of the day, they're coming to you. Wait, I am ready. Let's go.
Right.
So continue with us or how this works.
Sure. So all you're trying to do, big picture wise, don't get bogged down in the weeds of, oh, I need to use this, and this. Use whatever you can put together to build the relationship, because that's all we're trying to do. We're sending them a formal letter. Hey, thanks so much for speaking with Anna yesterday. We really appreciate it. Yada, yada, yada. We send a handwritten card, looking forward to connecting with you. We then reach out with a bomb email, video.
Which is engaging.
Yeah.
So you had said,
engage.
This is easy to remember. I'm going to keep repeating that this quote I'm stealing from you, but you say automate to communicate, but also less catchy, but very important, automate to engage.
Yeah.
I mean, in everything, I just want to keep reiterating that because I don't love how so many people use automation to just get things out of their way they don't want to do and think they can eat bonbons and make money. But automating is for engaging, and you're doing it in that way that is growing your business and yet still balanced.
When we call them, they know who we are.
Yes, exactly. And I have a favorite saying: never talk to anyone until they know you're a someone. That certainly helps, especially when you're not the one calling, hoping to get the appointment, and you're not the one following up, but you have a team and they see that and how well the team is consistent, follows up, and by the way, accountable. So before we go into actually when you're actually winning it, these ISAs making these calls, how do they know who to call? Who do they call? What do they say? How do they say it? Do they have
we've gotten into just recently, what we do is every Monday we will send them our just listed or just solds. Like Rika will email them our RMLS sheet saying, hey, here's another one that the team sold this week. Here's the address. And they have a way of pulling all of the data for that neighborhood. So they'll get the closest 200 homeowners, and phone numbers are not hard to get.
Well, it's also there are also algorithms out there with different systems that will tell you who's likely to sell soon, which anybody.
Yeah, like Smart Zip, some of those type of companies use big data.
Like what? No, say what you said. Say that again. Sorry. What did you just say?
So Smart Zip is a company that uses big data. So big data, for everyone who may not be aware, all of the information, so like the credit bureaus, like when you go to your grocery store and punch in your number as a client customer. I have one at my grocery store. I punch it in, and at the end of the year, we get a certain number back or something. I don't know. But they know everything you buy and I buy. And all that information does not just stay with them. It goes to big data. All the choices we make online, it's amazing how much information is stored on each one of us and then reprocessed and sold. And with big data, they can predict by your purchase habits, by your travel habits, by who you have in your family, with algorithms, how likely you are to sell your home within X amount of time.
Well, not only that, it's like y'all thought Facebook was bad. Y'all don't know about big data, right? Like,
oh, big data's been going on for a long time. Now it's just accessible.
Right? Like big data, Mark Zuckerberg, like he's nothing. Wow. Okay. So big data. So anyway, this is so fascinating to me because I've always done business in a different way. And to learn about these things that you could do that are actually, you know, a lot of people think manipulation, but it's engaging. Like, why keep yourself away from the people you can help most? And why let them miss out on you?
Right.
Next, winning it.
You know, we have, as realtors, we have access to so much information already
that we don't even use. That's such a disservice to our clients too, by the way. But finish what you were saying about that.
Well, I mean, there's just so much information out there that you can leverage without being creepy and without being all of that, you know. LinkedIn. So the social, let social media work for you. Like LinkedIn is great. When we get a new lead, we go on LinkedIn, we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram.
Now
we find
you're telling too many good secrets, Joe. That's too much. It's like how obvious. Calling expireds. I bet you know them. Look them up and find out who you know that would refer them to you, as opposed to just chasing them down and turning them off and getting your phone number blocked. But keep going. So LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, I mean, LinkedIn, you know, you can see their work history. You can see the possible connections you have. It's very powerful. But there's so many different ways to connect and build that relationship so that when the time is right for them, or when you're following up to build a relationship, it's not just a cold conversation. It's you've received information from me. You know, there's something there that makes them feel like they know you a little bit, or at least have an idea of why you're calling them or why you're reaching out to them. And it helps build the relationship.
Well, something else that you noted earlier is you said a few things, and I'm going to quote some other podcasts for a minute, because you said the way you're doing this, ISAs are getting their information. So they're giving you their information, number one. Now, this is something important. And Kevin Brown talks about this. He's partners with Nikki Field, with the Field team in New York City. I think they sell like 300 million a year. But he said that, you know, when he meets a client, he always says what he's going to do and then does it as an opportunity to establish rapport and trust quickly. You're doing the same thing in this, is they're giving you the information. So it's not like you stalked them and honed it out. They're giving you the email. You follow up with the email as promised, and you repeatedly deliver on what you promise consistently, so that you're setting that up for them to know who you are and know you might be someone with that level of credibility and support.
For sure. And there's different ways you can say things that create confidence. So, you know, I love that, you know, when you say you're going to do something and then do it, it creates that bond of, I can trust this person, right? And then to follow that up and provide that information with a certain phrase like, as promised, comma, here's the information that we spoke about. And I hope you find this helpful because you were wondering about this. How is it important to them? So as promised, you know, the promise is kept, you can trust me. And then here's the information and here's why it's important to you.
Which shows that you're listening, that I'm not sending this to you to show off because that's so common in our business, but I'm sending this to you because this is what's important. This is what I hear. And I found something important to note in the communication. There are times when they're like, no, that's not important to me because of this. That's key. The moment people start correcting you, they're telling you stuff you didn't know that you need to know, so shut up. And don't say, oh, but I didn't mean to that, or I didn't mean to this, or it doesn't matter. Let them talk, because they're communicating with you and telling you what they need. Don't break that chain of communication. because that's actually building rapport, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And you know who's really, really good at this, Jerry, is the folks at Ninja Selling. That is one of the best books on
I've got to read it.
selling. Oh, it's fantastic. It's absolutely, I gave it to, or I bought it for our new team member, and she's reading it right now. I gave her certain chapters to read, and then we're going to go through it and talk about it, but they have it down to a science, and they are really, really good, and they share everything. They're like,
you say they have it down to a science. What is it?
It is how to make a connection with either a buyer or a seller, or anyone that you are in the flow with, meaning having a conversation or building a relationship. How do you do that in a meaningful way that has value for them and creates a situation of trust, so that when the time comes in their life where they're thinking about buying or selling, your name and you as an individual or your team or whoever are the ones that they think of. And that's a really tricky process. And they have done it well for many, many years, and share it all in Ninja Selling. The book is absolutely fantastic.
Is there a quick way to sum it up? Because now we're going to go into the actual listing appointment, I think.
Sure.
We'll see. But how do you build that trust in a conversation?
It's harder now with, we're wearing masks all the time, right? And half your face is covered. So half of your communication, half of your communicative ability is gone. I've really tried to figure out how we overcome that, but with masks, it's really, really tough. But creating that opportunity for them to trust you and feel like you are their best opportunity to get done what they're trying to get done with their goals, with their real estate goals. It's a matter of finding that connection with people, and you have to be authentic. There's too many brokers that I feel like aren't their authentic selves and lose business because of it, because there's a lack of trust and a lack of, if you're not being honest with me, and I can tell in your interactions with me that you're not being honest with me about your communication and everything, they're not going to trust you.
Well, I think the question is my agenda to help, or their question. So your question should be too, is the agenda to help me, or as the client, is their agenda to help me, or is it to just get another deal?
Right.
And all too often in our business, the script is written that everybody's just trying to get another deal.
Right.
And when that happens, what really matters and what makes us so valuable goes away.
Right. And there's three things you have to do, right? I mean, they have to believe in your brokerage, they have to believe in you, and then they have to feel like you're competent and can get the job done for them. And, with Sotheby's, I love Sotheby's as a brand, because I've never, ever had to walk into a situation and try to convince someone that Sotheby's is a great brand.
You don't have to spend any time on that, right?
Yeah, that's a done deal.
Create the rapport.
Yep. The getting them to believe in me and believe that I'm genuine and authentic and have their best interest at heart is a matter of understanding that person and listening to them, asking the right questions. And then thirdly, we usually do not just walk into a situation and boom, they want to list now and they want to sign now. That doesn't typically happen. You get this ramp up, and that's an opportunity to show your credibility and the knowledge that you have. And so all of our drip campaigns that we do are pieces of the process and helping educate people about what like if they're a seller, here is 5 things to know about appraisals. Here's what you can expect. 5 things to know,
3 things to know, 2 things to know.
Exactly.
To know we have a 3 things to know podcast now, everybody. But right. Like that's like, I'm like, I want to know the 5 things. I don't want to miss them. Right. What are they?
Right. What are the 5 things you need to know in this market to sell your home and buy a new home? We ran that ad on Google, I think it was, and holy smokes, we had so many people sign up on our site, sign up for our blog.
Really? Okay.
They want that information, and share it with them, show them that you're credible and that you're a professional.
And I think what's important to know is you can't just run a Google ad and it's going to work. You want to Google out with the system and support behind it to deliver, to win that business when the time's ready.
Right.
Now, once the time's ready, because you've got such great rapport, credibility, and systems, do you need a listing presentation? And if you do, okay, so what does that look like? What happens when it gets to that stage?
So at that stage, we're trying to show them that we are the best choice for them, that we can get their home sold fast for the most money and represent them in a way that they're going to be overjoyed with at the end of the process. And I tell them right up front, our goal is for you to get our post-sale review and give us 5 stars. And if you don't feel great about the service that you received and the customer care that you received, that's a problem for us. But that is our goal. And that's how we build everything in our system, is how do we represent you to the best of our abilities? And how do we provide an experience that you're going to look back on and say, wow, those guys were awesome. They communicated, they did what they said they were going to do, and they delivered on getting the results that we were looking for. And that's what we do in the listing presentation, is just show them how that works. And there's also many of us in the industry are still stuck in the way things were and how things were done.
Oh, amen to that, right?
Yeah, you got to change.
So I keep posting past people, but we had another past guest who said that the best way to break into real estate or break into the next level or whatever it is you're going into is the complacency of agents who take the business for granted and assume it. That is like a door wide open to step into that market. Yeah. You said, I'm going to repeat these 3 things because they were so good. And I don't know that you said them, but talk about 3 things. Number 1, you communicate, automate to communicate. Mm-hmm. Number 2, automate, right? Because this is all about the proper automations and support behind it. But you communicate, you did what you said, and you deliver, by the way, results. Because at the end of the day, our clients are hiring us for one thing, the results. Are you going to get me the results? But in the meantime, we can't get the results if these guys aren't being communicated with, because they become crazy and we get fired. And right. Number 2, we have to do what we say for that reason and to get those results. Right. So let it communicate, do what you say, and deliver results. And the best way to do that is the support of a team and the automation to communicate. Yeah.
You can be a single proprietor. I mean, you can be an individual agent and have great systems and great, third-party people around you. That's possible these days. And I actually see many agents doing that, and that's fantastic. But it's just one of those things where if you can scale it, you can grow it and keep adding to it. It just makes more sense, I think, to scale it and grow it, because why stick with a little bit of success when you can just build the blocks and maybe even work less hours and have more of a life and do more of the things that you love. It just makes
happier clients and happier life. And It's Good to Great. Have you read that book?
Love that book.
Do you remember when he says mediocrity and excellence is actually easier than mediocrity, because the consequences of mediocrity, you do things well for clients, you get more clients, you get happier clients, you actually spend less time doing them, and it compounds on itself. And it goes the other way too. Right. If you don't have the right clients, you don't have the right systems, it can spend more time with more negative kind of that rabbit hole. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like our team is learning and growing. Every single team meeting we have, we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And how long are your meetings Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and what time?
Hour. 11:30 to 12:30 Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And sometimes they get moved around just because conflicts or whatever, but we meet for an hour, we get it done, but we're constantly in communication, always in communication.
That's key. Yeah. That's key. Okay. Back to the listings. Mm-hmm. When you arrive at their house, what is there anything that arrives at their house before, or do you show up with a presentation? Do you show up with just you and have a conversation? Is there how does that work?
Most of the time they will have received via email. We use issuu.com, issue.com, which is a digital magazine.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So we send them our pre-listing pamphlet. It's a little bit about us, a little bit about what we do, a little bit about Sotheby's, just kind of a teaser on what we're going to be talking about. Yeah. And we'll send the photo of it. They click on it and it will open automatically full screen, and you just swipe through it like a magazine. It's awesome. And we can see if they open it.
But it keeps people, it's funny because you send them a website, they're not going to really look. But if it's a book in that format, because they used to think, like, why do you want a book online? But it's actually subconsciously gets you to open the next page. So you're going to go through it.
Digital turning of the page is so satisfying.
Isn't it?
Love it.
Like, how could you not?
Sit there and go, look at that. That's cool.
Right. Like, how could you not? So they get the book. So now you get there. I mean, like, talk about like building some credibility before you even show up. So now you show up at the listing appointment. Is it a conversation? Is there a book? Do they want a presentation? Do they want it? What do they want? And how does it go?
Well, we're still traditional in that, most of the time these days I've already seen the house. A lot of brokers do the one step. I just find it we've been in conversations with these people. A lot of times I've already been to their house because
you don't need to drag it out anymore.
No. And so when I'm coming over, or actually sometimes on Zoom now too, but most of the time coming over to their house, I've already been there or someone from my team has, because you can't give a real legitimate price to someone if you have not seen their home, right?
Yeah.
There's just only so much that photos or video or whatever can
do you have like a run by the house and preview it before the official listing appointment?
Sure. And that's one of the best ways that we build relationships with people, is just to say, hey, Mr. Schultz, I really appreciate you connecting with Anna. It sounds like you're going to be wanting to sell in a few months. We'd be happy to provide you with a real accurate value of your home, not just something that's done by an algorithm by a computer online, but with our 26 years experience in the industry, as well as what we know is happening right now, we can give you a real number. Oh, that'd be great. All we need to do is swing by for 5 or 10 minutes, do a quick walkthrough. You can meet me and we can get that information for you. So most of the time I've already been to their house, or someone on our team has been to their house. So when I come back for the presentation of, hey, this is what we're going to do for you. I have a large iPad. Usually I have it with me. I do not today for some reason, but it's the big iPad and it sits up on a stand. And I was using my MacBook before, but that's just not.
It's something about it's not the same. Yeah.
So this is like a big screen. It's the biggest iPad they sell. And I turn it around to them. And then I have my phone. And if you use Apple products like I do, all of them talk together. So my iPhone acts as a remote control. And I have the presentation in front of them. And so I'm just controlling the screen from my phone as it's in front of them. And it has video.
So that way you're looking at it, but you're not having to like pull it back.
No, yeah.
See,
so I'm across the table.
Littlest things.
This is right in front of them. I've got my remote control. The great thing is it has notes on the bottom too. So if I ever like have an off day and I'm not remembering my lines, there they are on my phone.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention we have a Hollywood star on the show today, remembering his lines.
If you don't have a presentation,
you got the relevant
point. The same thing every single time.
Right. Well, sometimes there's some really relevant points and you're just like thinking about that. Anyway, I totally actually get it. So that's great. So now the issue that you send before you get there and the presentation on the iPad, are those different?
Yes. So I use a Keynote, which is an Apple, like a presentation.
Apple PowerPoint, basically.
Yeah, Apple PowerPoint. And we go through there, and when I get to certain slides, video will pop on automatically. Sotheby's does amazing video. The content that they push out to us is really, really good. And so I show them a a little bit about Sotheby's, but mostly about how we get done what we get done, how we get results for people, and why it's different than what maybe they've seen, and how it's proactive.
Most of the listing presentations look exactly the same.
Exactly. What are we doing proactively to get their home in front of every single person that's in the market to buy a home in their price range? And that's the key. And showing them how we do that, you know, the email list, the online social media, the calling that we do, all of those things add up to building the picture for them. And, you know, most agents are not going to talk about like, a lot. I mean, most agents just aren't going to talk about the nuts and bolts of marketing, but you have to touch on that to create the vision for them of how you're going to accomplish these things.
Well, I find once they hire you, if they haven't heard that and seen that, and they don't understand that, they don't understand the value of what you're doing, and you've got to be aligned, and they've got to be in the loop on what's happening. So that it makes them appreciate the whole process of showings and the buyers coming through. Okay,
it's funny. One other thing on that, Jere.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I see a lot of people do, or hear a lot of people do, is, oh, it's my friend or it's my family, so I didn't give them a full presentation. That's exactly who you should be giving the full presentation to. Anyone that's going to refer you, give them a reason to refer you.
Not only that, but if they hire you because you're a friend and things don't go well, and they are the only credibility you've got is friendship,
right?
That's a tough one. That's a recipe for disaster if you don't nip that in the bud up front.
Absolutely.
Right. So at the end of that appointment, do you do they typically, like, I don't know how I do it anymore, but typically they ask me to sign. I like it that way. But do you bring the listing agreement? Do they act like, how do you close it? How do you close the appointment?
I don't even remember the last time I signed a listing at someone's house.
Me either.
I don't. And everything's DocuSign now. And I just ask them. The thing that, you know, I tell young brokers all the time is you have to ask for the business.
Yeah.
I tell them, you know, Jere, I love your house. I love how we can position it in this market. I think we can achieve the goals that you've outlined to me. Do you have any questions about, you know, you've said that you don't have any questions about how we can get those results. It seems like you're pretty comfortable with this. Do you have any other questions? No, great. Well, I want to let you know that I want to work for you. I want to get your home sold. I think it's beautiful. I think we can do a great job. I know we can do a great job for you. Would you be, would you be willing to move forward? And if they say yes, then I say, you know, my assistant will have those documents sent to you for signature as soon as we're done here.
My favorite part of that is, well, how did you word it? It was good. I already forgot, but we would be glad to list your home for you, because it kind of, I don't think it's good to say, hey, just so you know, I'm interviewing you too, because people are like, well, never mind, right? Like, I'm sorry, you're welcome for me wanting to do business with you. But when you just kind of let them know, hey, like, we like you, we take you as a client, it's a little gracious, and it reminds them that, like, they might not take every client, but they're taking me.
We don't take every client.
There you go.
Life's too short. The beautiful thing about our business is you can choose who you want to work with.
Yeah.
And if you have choices, even better. If you don't have choices, then you really don't get to choose.
And you should position yourself so that you do. Back to the beginning of this whole interview. Okay, so now that listing appointment's over. You know, usually by the time you're there, they're ready and they're going to do something. There are the occasions where life's happening. They want to sit down, they want to interview you, but they're not going to make a decision for a month. Those are the worst.
Sure.
Either way, what is the follow-up? Either way, do you kind of have like what is your automated follow-up plan after a listing, a quote? I even hate calling them that, but a listing appointment.
Right. So handwritten card right away, right afterwards. We like sending food, cookies, mostly. Sugar is so powerful. Cheryl's.com. Get an account at Cheryl's.com.
Cheryl.com.
Cheryl's.com. You pay like $20 for a year of free shipping. It's beautiful.
Wow.
All of our people in our database.
So CHERYL.com.
CHERYLS, yes.
S.com. Okay.
Yeah. And it's cheap for $10, 15, $20. You can send them a bunch of really good individually wrapped cookies.
Do they
People love
brand
it.
them?
You can. I don't think we do. I think we just send regular
The fact
frosted.
that you don't know if you do is beautiful. I mean, there goes the whole point right there.
All I do know is that everyone in our database who we have a birthday for gets cookies. And they get delivered, and I get thank yous.
Okay, who do
without
we give
even-
credit? Because Joe, there's
That's
no
me.
way you get all, this must be your wife. This is brilliant. This is like brilliant stuff.
No, it's
It's
stolen.
you?
Remember, Jerry, I told you,
Oh, you
it's
stole it
all
from her.
borrowed. It's all
However,
borrowed. None
You
of this
borrowed
is.
it. But this is a still a somewhat female dominated industry. So that explains everything.
Sure.
You're
We
like-
discussed this
you're
before
like,
before the
I'm
video.
trying not to be insulted right now.
Oh, hey, I'm fully aware that you guys are the smarter sex. There's no doubt
I
about
think
it.
so. If you ever have children, you find out. So
Real quick.
anyway,
She has
back
cookies.
to right.
Yeah.
So, but this is like all of this stuff. It's like so simple. Like, don't ever complicate it. Don't ever think it. Just implement it. Keep it straightforward and get it done. And it's beautiful. I always say people always try to do these big crazy things, but it's the smallest little gestures, like Cheryl's.com for some cookies, and issue.com for the online book that they get before, that they're not going to lose, by the way, before you get there. The simple like presentation that over time is less expensive and a lot more impressive. That's the big iPad synced up to your phone. I mean, all of these simple little things that just think about the experience that creates for your clients with you versus everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, we want them at the end of the process. The goal is for them to say, that was fantastic. We achieved our goals, and Joe and Stephanie and their team were absolutely phenomenal. We can't wait to refer them to our friends and our family, because that's the easiest lead of all. When someone calls you up and says, yeah, Dr. Schultz told me that I should call you because you sold his house and I really respect him and you guys did great work for him. Can you come over and see our place? Yeah, I think we can.
I think we can. We'll
That's
see.
wonderful.
No, I'm kidding.
Here's some cookies.
Right. So now once you win the listing, because we've got about 5, maybe 10 minutes left.
Uh-huh.
Once you win that listing, how do you serve the listing from telling them what's going to happen, making sure it happens, back to communicate, deliver what it was, communicate, do what you say you're going to do, and deliver results?
So when I take the listing, I tell them that Tuesdays are our follow-up days. I will call you whenever there's any information that needs to get, any
Deliver
conversations we need to have or anything like that. But on Tuesdays are the day that you can count on a phone call from me just to check in, just to make sure things are getting done, answer any questions you have. How you doing? Great. Nothing. Okay, good. And really these days, our average days on market is about a week. So you're calling them once, but the process looks like this morning, we had in our team meeting, we had a launch we got 3 new listings that are coming on. And what does the launch look like for each one of those? Every home's different. Every set of sellers are different. So we went through each one of those, but Rika sends out a timeline of here's what you can expect. And you remember when we talked about delivering.
Rika sends a timeline to the seller.
Right.
Okay.
Here
And
are
what
the
format?
important.
An email, a list?
It's an email, and it's a PDF with a beautiful kind of graph and picture on it. And
Okay.
the dates, she puts in the dates that are pertinent to this listing. And so they see and can feel good and rest assured, oh, okay, this is the date for this is the date for that. All these things are happening here.
You put those on the
But
calendar?
the other thing is, yeah.
Okay. On their calendars?
It's an email that shows
Gotcha.
the dates that
I got
all
it.
those things
Okay.
happen. But
No, I got it.
remember we
Right,
talked
but
about.
yeah, don't let me break your train of thought. I'm just thinking of
No.
I want to get all the details. I don't want to miss any good ones. So anyway, they get the
Yeah, you
email,
bet,
they get
you
the
bet.
timeline, and then
Right. Well, and then, they see the marketing start to happen. They see, everything coming together. About 4 days after the listing goes live, we send them an email that has become essential and extremely powerful. and might be the best thing we talk about today as far as just impacting and getting future referrals. But we send them a list of all the major syndicated websites: Sotheby's.com, Mansion Global, Jawai.com, Zillow, Redfin, all these. And we tell them about that site and how much syndication and how many people typically visit. Here, click on the link here to see your house there. So there's about 8 of the major websites, including Jawai.com for China, which is always kind of cool when you can see your home in all Chinese and realize that your home is now being syndicated around the world. And we get a lot of really good responses from that.
Now,
we're showing them.
So those links, I guess there's an interface in the background at Sotheby's that we pull those from.
Yeah. I mean, all of those syndications are done automatically for us through Sotheby's. There's a few that we do manually just because they're different, or we have subscriptions, or I can't remember what. But for them to be able to go and see their home around the world on those major syndications is extremely powerful. And it's a moment where you really cement wow, these guys are really delivering for us.
Yeah, this happened. Like, this isn't.
Sometimes you got to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again about prove it. Is that what you said? Approve.
Well, yeah. You know how we talk about, hey, you need to, this is how we're going to deliver. Well, a lot of times they don't see it unless you put it in front of them to say, oh yeah, by the way, as promised, this is what we put together for you. And oh yeah, like we talked about, here is we do a booklet for each of our listings that goes on to issue. And we talk about how instantaneous marketing needs to be in our day and age, so that when someone calls on the phone and says, I'm interested in your property on Southeast Exeter over in Garthwick neighborhood, which is the one right behind you on the screen. Yeah, there you go.
This one, you just saw this one, didn't you?
Yeah, month or so ago.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about this, by the way. Every time we have a background, everybody that's watching, it's a listing of our guest. But anyway.
Yeah. So when someone calls and says, hey, can I get more information on that? Most brokers will be like, oh, okay, let me get your information and get your email and I'll get right back to you. And yeah, and sometimes it doesn't get done, or sometimes it's a day later or something like that. Buyers need to get that information now. And so we have the ability with that issue magazine brochure of their home, and it's super easy to make. We text them that and it comes across on their phone as a picture, not a link, but as a picture. That's how good issue is. Yeah. They click on that and boom, it's full screen on their phone and they're swiping. 5 seconds after they get off the phone with me, I have all those preloaded and I just send it. And they're looking through the home. Do you think we get more showings through that, or the old way of let me get your email and I'll send that to you?
No, well, not only that, but when you do that, you also are winning more listings because they want you to do that for their listing.
That's in the listing presentation, right?
Yeah.
Do you want your home to be presented? What's that?
You're being interviewed especially when you don't know it.
Right, of course. Yeah.
But you were going to add one more thing to that, or?
Well, I was just going to say that's definitely part of the conversation. Is these are some of the ways that we present your house in a way that no other broker will, and this is how we get the results that we do because of that. And when you say that, that's one thing, but when you then deliver, and that's one of the things that I usually do, is after the listing presentation, a couple of days later, as soon as photography is done, we have those booklets done. And which reminds me, I need to remind my assistant that I needed 2 of those.
See, typical realtor conversation. Can I tell you how many times I do that? I'm like, that reminds me.
Right, I know. Right. But I'll send them a copy of their book before anything else, and I'll say,
I love that.
Yeah, as promised. Here's your booklet.
And this is important to you because back to how you always remember to communicate. As promised, we're delivering this.
As promised.
This matters to you. It's
important to you. Because
because this is how your property is being showcased to buyers and no other properties are.
Exactly. It's tough in this market though, because, and we talked about this in our team meeting today, that things are happening so fast. Like we just sold this place we put on last Friday, and like half of all the really cool marketing things we wanted to do, you don't get to do. Right. And so anyways, I'm still we still send that stuff. And like, we sold the house, like,
backups, right? People are backing out a little more often than usual right now too, because they get the buyer's remorse because they're so anxious just to get the house.
We still do all the marketing and we still deliver it to them even after pending, because they need to know
what you do,
that you, oh yeah.
And you need to be ready.
Yeah. But you need to give them a reason to refer you to whoever else down the road they run into, right? That's really the name of the game, is how do we create an experience where people are raving fans, like the book says.
And back to systems and automation, it keeps the team functioning in a way that they're going to do it anyway.
Right.
You know, sometimes you get situations where it's going to sell anyway. We don't have to do it. Just let it sell. Get it done. Get it done. Every time it gets done, and then practice. You're practicing over and over again, no matter what, to get better and better at it.
Right. 100%.
All right. So I think about 11 minutes ago, I said 10 more, or no, 9 minutes ago, I said 10 more minutes. When I look to the right, everybody, I've watched myself in this podcast. I look like I'm rolling my eyes at people. I'm just checking the time, just for record. So, well, I've got to fix that. I'm going to have to start getting a watch. I mean, a clock right in front of me. So
you keep doing what you're doing, Jere. You're great at this.
Thank you. So last question, if we can wrap it up. Well, this is the last question, and we're still doing the final three in a different version. So just heads up, everybody. We're going to be maybe 10 more minutes if you have 10.
I do.
Okay. So last question is, if you can tell us, there are two more phases of this, like you get the contract, you close, and then you've closed and you moving forward after, like the closing, the relationship begins once the property's closed. And the last impression, Chris Voss, is the lasting impression. So give us from contract to close to after that.
So at close of escrow, unfortunately, we can't go to closings anymore. We used to go to many of them.
What?
They don't, with COVID, they're not allowing that.
You are going to have to move to Georgia, Joe. I'm just saying. Anyway.
But we make an effort of making sure that we love them up and congratulations. And, hey, we make sure that they have everything they need with their move. Everything's going on. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I used to do core coaching, the core CORE. They're fantastic out of North Carolina.
How do you spell it again? CORE?
CORE, yeah.
Core coaching, okay.
Yeah. But one of the core agents that I knew there, she would have pizzas delivered to the house during moving day.
Yeah.
And how cool is that,
Yeah.
The other thing is the cookies, the Cheryl's. We love them up with some cookies and with some different things. Closing gifts are great, but we just try to continually stay in flow with them even after the closing. So
we did skip a stage. Under contract, how do the communications run? How does that automate to communicate and engage at work? So you hit we may have talked about this in the last interview, so we'll just touch on it. But is it Rika that handles that, or how does that get handled to go through to closing? Yeah, there's the weekly update. So they get a weekly update every Monday that has all of our marketing data. So here are the number of people that have been online. Right, but once you got the buyer, like you got it under contract to sell. Oh, yeah. So contract to close. At that point, it's still a weekly conversation. They get the weekly email with the timeline of here are the important dates, right? And this is what they mean. And then we're just in communication as much as possible, explaining what things mean, how things are going to progress, so that when they are going through them, they don't have anxiety and stress. And that's the thing that kills most brokers' experience through closing, is they don't communicate enough, and clients get anxiety from not knowing what's going to happen. They have anxiety about anxiety, and it's a big step. And the more you can educate and communicate and help with that process, the better off you're going to be. It's kind of funny. We've had clients who, when we're
trying to get their business, we're educating them and helping them. And then we get their business and help them get into a home, and they're, either selling or buying. And we're resending them a lot of the same information about, remember, the things we talked about with appraisals. Your appraisals tomorrow at 5:00, and here's what you can expect. And here's the usual turnaround. Your inspection is going to be tomorrow, and this is how it's going to go. So those type of communications to help people not have that anxiety are really super helpful. And keeping that calmness throughout helps us when we have to have difficult conversations, because if someone's already teed off, having a difficult conversation about a $5,000 oil tank or something or another is just going to tee them off more, right?
Yeah.
So help them be in a very calm state throughout the process so that you can deliver communication that needs to happen, and they can have a good experience. Because even if you reach their goals and they get what they want, but if they have a horrible experience and they don't feel like they were treated very well or communicated with, you're not going to get the next piece of business that they come across.
Exactly. So closing, follow up with the cookies, pizza, and anything.
We haven't done the pizza. I'm going to try that pizza though. When someone's going to be boxing up and doing their move and all that, and it's a lunchtime type deal, send it over.
Exactly.
I mean, really, $15.
All right, now we're going to do the final 3 questions.
Let's do it.
Final 3. Number 1, in the listing process, winning, delivering, closing, follow up, what do you find is your best resource for success at that? Is it a tool? Is it a technology tool? Is it something you specifically do, or how you do it, or your team does it?
I think what we do better than most is, once we've laid the groundwork with the automation, with the technology, with the gifts, with this, that, whatever, I feel like the best thing that we do is make the connection. So make the call. Make the call or get in front of them. So I mentioned, going over and getting 5 to 10 minutes with them at their house to get them a real CMA. That 5 to 10 minutes is gold. And when you've set people up with, hey, this is what we do, this is why we're good at what we do, this is why we're trustworthy, but then, get them on the phone and then make the connection, that's where the gold's at, right? And I feel like that's the best thing we do, because it really does come down to relationships. No matter all the technology and
the warm touches,
automation, all that, you still have to connect with people.
And the warm touches are made powerful by that automation.
Right, exactly.
So is there a book around either automating or listings, or just that you want to remind us or tell us about since the last interview?
Whoa. What am I reading right now?
Last interview you named like 7 too, by the way. So now you only get to name 1 this time. Just 1.
Well, I think I'm rereading Ninja Selling right now.
So is that it?
That's it. That's enough. It's beautiful. Yeah.
All right.
But podcasts are also great. Obviously, your podcast
Jere Metcalf podcast is like amazing.
I've heard that that's the best in the business.
I shouldn't say that because it is pretty good, right? I don't need to say that.
I was shocked at how many people watch. You got a huge following. Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't have been shocked.
I can't wait until we actually start like marketing the podcast pretty soon.
Oh, you aren't marketing it all?
No.
You're just pushing it out there?
No, we pushed it out once or twice. We didn't need to do that. Maybe did I push yours out?
I don't know. People saw it.
Yeah. Like, that's what I mean. We're not doing anything right now because we've been so busy with business. We're actually, literally the interview before you was hiring someone to do that because this podcast is so popular with no real push. To your point.
I noticed you had new people emailing me with the information. So kudos. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Thank you.
You do a great job with this. It's fantastic. But I would read Ninja Selling. And then also there's some great podcasts out there. I've been just kind of discovering that this year, and it's great.
Really are. The amount of insight you can get out there. Give us one podcast other than the Jere Metcalf podcast.
Tom Ferry's got some great stuff. Tom Ferry is great with lead conversion. Go to his YouTube and search lead conversion. There's a handful of videos in there that are absolutely gold. I
Awesome.
love Tom. Tom's a good guy and he does a great job. You know Kyle Whistle out of San Diego?
No.
Whistle Realty.
Hmm.
I
I know a Kyle in San Diego, and he's been on our show, but I would know if it was Kyle Whistle, and he was amazing with team building.
oh my gosh. Yeah, he search him up online because he knows